Welcome aboard the dopamine train, where our ADHD-powered locomotive stops at every shiny thought along the tracks. I'm Obi-Wan, and with my co-host Rome, we explore various topics and see where the conversation train takes us.
We're on air right now. I am with my good friend Jesse. He is someone I've known since high school, and there's really no special reason why he's here. He was just like, hey, let's do a podcast, and so we're running right now. I won't.
Yeah, we're trying to fill a void in our lives. We're a couple 30-year-olds that don't know how to exist outside of the internet right now.
All right, good start.
Yeah.
So
we're old. We might be dead soon.
What made you want to do a podcast to begin with?
Nothing. I'm just bored. What do you want?
Oh, that is the reason.
Yeah,
okay,
might as well.
That is the actual reason.
Well, and if it goes shitty, we just delete it, and if not, then it's something that just sits on your YouTube channel.
Well, look at it's going on my YouTube channel.
I don't have one. I don't plan on starting one. Go to Stemler's YouTube channel and there's Halo freaking gameplay.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wonder how he's doing. So for context, Stemler is someone who we knew from high school, but kind of dropped off the radar, in and out, but mostly out. It's been 4 years since we last spoke to him.
It was during the freaking
the pandemic.
Yeah, there was a lot of shit going on back then, and I don't know if he survived.
Well, obviously he did because he messaged us.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, you're the one who told me. You're the one who has a better memory than me. You're like, oh yeah, remember he messaged you? And I was like, really?
During the pandemic, though, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He was in the middle. It was summer of the pandemic. Okay. He could have not gotten out alive.
I guess that's just wishful thinking on my part.
January 6th.
Oh my god.
Stemler wasn't actually at the Capitol January 6th, but...
Are you sure?
I wouldn't be surprised, bro, the way he was going. If he ever hears this, then I love you, Stemler, but...
Hey, I'm not saying any
you
of
could
this
have been
stuff.
at the Capitol on January 6th.
I'm looking at the waveform right now as you're incriminating yourself.
I'm not incriminating anybody except for Stemler, but... I just imagine he's on the fucking news, and he's probably...
Hey, you know what, man? It's your first one, so it's get it all out there. It's all good. If you decide that it's a complete travesty on air...
He won't hear this. I don't think he goes online for his RuneScape, I think. That's about it.
Oh, okay. So I had a bunch of questions I want to ask you, but I don't even know if I want to ask them because I feel like if I just let you go at it, it'll just be gold in and of itself.
It'd be even better if this wasn't recording.
Well, that kind of defeats the whole purpose.
But I'm just saying it'd be funny because you'd be mad.
Okay, so I'll be honest. This is just... This feeling you have right now, like while it's rolling, is just you get after a while. Like if you came over every weekend and we just did this, and like obviously I spent a lot of time setting up today, but if we just started rolling right from the get go at 11 when you get here, then we get used to it after a while.
No, we'd meet in the middle somewhere, get a cheap hotel somewhere, and just record it.
That's fair.
Either that or you go to my house.
What's wrong with here?
Because it's 2 hours away in LA traffic. Unless you want to just pay for my living and just stay here the rest of my life.
How am I going to afford that?
I don't know. Tell your mom to do it. We're millennials. We just have our parents pay for everything.
Okay. What is up with people going, oh yeah, just have my parents pay for it? Like, do you not feel any remorse when you say something like that?
Bro, my parents don't pay for everything for me.
No, I'm not saying you specifically. I'm saying when people make that sort of comment.
I mean, they probably do a bunch of mental gymnastics to figure out why it's not bad and that it's their parents' fault that they exist. I mean, in a small way, because, boomers are the last generation that are going to be happy.
They're the last... What do you mean? They're the last ones that are going to be happy?
You haven't seen those memes? They're the last generation that's going to be happy.
Because
they bought a house for like $30 and a fucking chapstick, and look, I don't want to blame everything on boomers, but they have dominated the presidency for the last 20 years.
Well, doesn't that just have to do with the
and
age?
Everything else? What, their age?
Yeah, because presidents typically tend to be older anyway, and they're older
Bro,
generation.
I don't want to be a crybaby millennial and just be like, oh, past generations ruined everything, because I think it's just like, shut the fuck up. And I hate those people that say grab yourself by your bootstraps, but part of me is kind of like, yeah, just get over it. Like, just move on, just get your shit together. Because there's so many people that don't have their shit together. But we also do live in like the most expensive time to live.
Yeah.
In order to function, like, well, first off, you need a car to get around here, at least. So it means you're going to have to pay for insurance, and then you have to pay for where you live, and then you're going to have to pay for the internet, because you need the internet to exist socially and professionally.
Professionally, I agree, but socially, you don't have to. It makes it harder without it, but you don't have to.
Yeah, but... Yeah, you're right.
And you're like, but I'm going to use it anyway.
Yeah, honestly, but it's just an expensive time to exist. Hopefully everything crashes and everyone just like, or we get another pandemic and just a lot more people die. No.
What?
I don't really believe that.
I was going to say, by that same token, don't we have way more amenities than we've ever had in history? Isn't that part of the...
I mean, that's why it's like kind of... You're always stuck in the middle between like, yeah, shit sucks, but like it could suck a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, you do realize people back in the day used to share a brush that they wipe their ass with in Roman times.
Wait, they used to wipe their ass with a brush?
Yeah.
That was a thing?
Yeah, they had the Colosseum. They had toilets, they had stalls. And the only way you could, clean yourself up was with a brush, and it was shared.
Imagine you're like an archaeologist that finds that brush.
This is like, I mean, I see people on TikTok say, "Oh man, like I wish I could have been a knight. Or I wish I could have lived during that time."
You would stink like shit at all times.
Okay, there's also this misconception that people were always dirty back then. Like there was bathing, but I mean, if you just go back to the 20s, they were prescribing radioactive water as a medication. That wasn't that long ago. That's how far medicine has come in the past 100 years. So to think before that,
from like
you want to live
flu.
before that?
You would die from like the simplest shit.
Yeah.
I got a paper cut and have to chop my leg off.
People didn't understand what was happening to them or how things worked. And they would get the wrong diagnosis. And that's still an issue now because medicine isn't perfect. It's a lot better. But, dude, there's so many things that we take for granted now that we're like, oh, yeah, I would be so much better off if I was back in this different time.
Honestly, the one thing I would like to think about is when I was 12, I should have bought a house.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. It's like the biggest mistake I made was being born in 1994.
Yes.
Well... Okay, so what do you think would need to happen for things to improve, like a general quality of life? What do you think is the sort of root cause or the thing that's breaking down?
I mean, right now, cost of just having shelter is too high. There's no such thing as a starter house. And part of the problem is that we're allowing companies to buy up cheap properties and then pump up the price of housing. We're allowing foreign governments and foreign companies to come in and buy every house they can because they know it's a necessity for us to buy, and we're a wealthy ass country and we're going to pay those prices. I think there is a serious issue with companies. It sounds lame, but like destroying the American dream. Like part of the American dream is like owning your own home. Mm-hmm. Like that's a major component of it. There used to be things as starter homes, like you would buy a like 2-bedroom, 1-bath for $100,000-$200,000, and then once you pay that off, or once you get yourself going, then you sell that house and move up to another house. That doesn't exist.
Do you think that is exclusive to where you and I live, or that's an issue across the country?
I mean, there's rising prices across the country. And the other thing is an issue is that people aren't really willing to leave where they started from. I mean, we live in California. I think I would feel really weird trying to leave state.
Why?
Because it's all I know. And I feel like there's also this there's talk, I forget what the stat was, but there's a percentage of people that like when they move out of state, they want to come back almost immediately because they realize, oh, it's really boring.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't remember the percentage, but like it's a fucking high ass percentage of people that when they leave here, they regret it pretty instantly because of how bored they get.
I've also heard
And
that,
people are also unable to, they're unable to like just sort of calm down and just try to acclimate to it. Like maybe you start appreciating the simpler life living in like other states that are just like out in the country. And people just they go there and they can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna get used to this eventually. I'm gonna find the simpler things in life nicer. Instead, they're gonna be like, oh, I miss having a fucking Dick's Sporting Goods and some stupid mall nearby. Like, we are kind of. Have you seen the American hellscape, where just all of America's turning into like freaking malls and just dumb shit that we don't need? We also don't live in like livable cities. Like we have to have a car. Whereas like in Europe, you could walk or bike anywhere and be fine.
well, that has to do with the scale of the cities, right?
There's some pretty big ass cities in Europe that literally you could survive without a car. Like we've sort of become stuck with the mode of transportation of just being a car and just building over everything with highways and freaking freeways.
I will say using public transportation here is fairly challenging, and it's not so much your knowledge of the public transit, but it's how reliable it is. Like there's plenty of times where a bus won't be on time or it just won't show up at all as scheduled, and
Also the fact that you probably don't want to be on a bus because you're surrounded by certain parts of you're gonna jump on the bus, you're gonna be around a fucking crack addict.
yeah, this is a major problem. I think in LA especially, and no one really seems to know what the answer is. They've tried throwing money at the problem.
Who I blame for all this?
Who?
Ronald Reagan.
Why?
Oh, hit like millennial hipster take, but fuck Ronald Reagan.
Why?
He freaking took so much funding away from mental health facilities. I know mental health facilities got a bad rap because how poorly run they were.
Yeah, that's
But
where you get one
completely
flew
getting
over the cuckoo's nest.
yeah, like that everyone hated like mental institutions after that. But maybe like actually regulate and have those places be like highly scrutinized instead of just getting rid of all of them.
Is that really the core? I hear this a lot, but you see the amount of people that are out on the street now, and it's like you could build an entire civilization just with how many there are.
Homeless people?
Yeah.
I mean,
is the institution really holding all those guys?
No, not all of them. Some people are just down on their luck and they need affordable housing and they just need a way to get back on their feet. Then there are some people that are drug addicts and they need rehab and they probably need some therapy to get to the core of their issues. And then also, unfortunately, there are some people that are kind of too far gone from street life. I mean, I hate saying this, but there are people that are just because of past traumas and also because of the fact that they've spent a life on drugs, like they're fried. Their brains are fried.
Yeah.
And they do need to be housed somewhere in a mental facility. And some of those people could maybe get rehabilitated, and then some of them maybe you just got to make their quality of life the best you can, but within there, because they're a danger to themselves and those around them.
Yeah, it's a liability.
Then again, we're just two random people that are just...
Well, yeah,
we're discussing
we're not gonna,
it. We don't know what the fuck we're talking
we're
about.
We're not going to come up with the solution between between you and I.
We become dictators.
Well, you've been talking about this for years.
Well, becoming a dictator?
Yeah.
You know what? Don't bring this up because when I become a politician, this is going to look really bad on me. Is that
I don't think that's going to be the thing that looks bad out of everything.
What else did I say that was that? What? I said a lot of brave things today.
I'll have to review the tape.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're recording.
Yeah, that's how a podcast works.
Fuck this shit. Just delete it right now. I'm going home.
Okay. So housing is an issue in the United States or in LA. We can say that much. And unhousing is a problem too. Do you think there's anything else? Okay, we've talked about a lot of external factors that are the source of woe. Is there anything intrinsic? Because you know how I roll. I'm always like looking for the reason of why I'm screwing up and trying to sort that out. Yeah.
See, that's another thing. That's a fucking other thing. Look at let's go back to the recession. Look at, there's a lot of shisty businessmen assholes that took advantage of people that were looking just to buy houses, get that American dream. So there's a lot of bad mortgages that help crash the economy. But on the other hand, there's a lot of dumb people that didn't control themselves and just kept getting more and more and more when they knew they shouldn't have got more and more and more. Like if you own 5 houses but you only make $50,000 a year, maybe you should have known not to do that. So I think there's some blame to be put on the human beings that were taken advantage. Okay, that
Are you
sounds
talking
bad.
about the 2008 recession?
Yes. I feel like the people that were being loaned those bad mortgages, part of you just doesn't go like, oh, maybe I shouldn't take this loan for a house that I clearly can't afford. Are you that willing to take a risk? Is that risk really worthwhile?
Could you attribute that to the fact that we had spent decades prior in this mode of America's growing, it's getting bigger and better, and there's no end in sight?
I mean, that's one of the main problems with that era was they thought, oh, nothing will ever bring down the mortgage crisis. I mean, the mortgages will always go up.
Yeah.
The stocks only go up. That's all they do.
Maybe.
And then when everything crashes, then you're just like, oh, yeah, they don't always go up, and now I'm underwater on a mortgage I can't fucking afford.
So maybe it's something we needed to give people a wake-up call?
Yes, but did anybody learn any lessons?
Not really. Well, I think it really comes down to who's in charge. I think one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, is somehow we just rolled the dice on incredibly poor leadership across the board in all avenues of, whether it's industry or in politics. You just have people who've gotten to the top who aren't necessarily interested in doing their job to the best of their ability. There's such an emphasis on my own personal progression as a career politician, this extends to all sorts of jobs that you could get where people are like, how am I going to make it big?
Isn't it weird also that we're in this era where nobody trusts anybody? No, like if you for a long time now, the president has terrible approval, no matter who it is.
Approval rating?
Approval rating for the president, terrible. No, the last 2 administrations, no matter who it is. Our House, the Senate, Congress in general, terrible approval ratings. Nobody trusts the media. Nobody trusts local government. It's just like, it's kind of crazy. We're in this era where nobody trusts fucking anybody.
Well, it's probably because time and time again they're showing
it's been the trust in public institutions has been deteriorating for decades now, but it's fucking frightening now how it is.
Do you think we're biased towards looking at our time and going, things are worse now, or there's less trust now when there actually was still very little prior?
No, I think they're able to see JFK, starting with JFK probably. That's the weird thing. Some people attribute a lot of it from then on out, our distrust in institutions have been going down since then.
Why do you think that started?
Some people have said him being assassinated and then people not trusting the commission that investigated it. Starting from there, people, that's a starting point for a lot of conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. And then Vietnam, freaking Johnson handling it terribly, and then Nixon, distrust of him, the fact that he had to resign because he was going to actually probably be impeached and probably could be convicted and kicked out of office. This isn't funny.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah. And then just we kind of got back on our feet because people generally liked Reagan, but then millennials and younger are starting to hate him. Probably rightfully so, to be honest with you.
You brought up a point that I think is important. The term conspiracy theories it's become such a staple in everything we talk about. I don't mind
conspiracies, but if you're one of those motherfuckers that believes in every conspiracy, maybe you should need to take a Xanax and chill.
I think that's kind of normal now to believe in every conspiracy.
Believe in nothing being true?
Kind of. How many times have you heard someone say, oh yeah, that's a distraction? This is a distraction.
Oh my God.
From something else.
You need a distraction from your phone, motherfucker. Get some help.
We can talk about that later too. The phone is just. I have a questionable relationship with how I use my phone, how I see other people using it. But yeah, I mean, people will go on their phone or they'll go online. They'll see a short snippet explaining why a situation is actually not what you think it is.
Do you remember during COVID when it first popped off? There was like this thing. It's like people need to calm down about COVID. You have to realize this is how it gets into your system. So what you need to do is drink. You need to gargle salt water. And like I remember like some guy I used to work with posting that, and then someone else posting it, and then someone else posting it. And these were people that don't know each other. And then my mom talking about it, and I'm just thinking about like years later, I'm like, that was the biggest crock of horse shit. But somehow it filtered out all the way to younger people who I worked with that are on the internet, to my mother who's like on old internet. She's on Facebook still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, shit like that spreads, like disinformation spreads so crazy. Another thing I wonder about is, are we that polarized as a nation? Like, are we that far apart on opinions? Or how much of the online discourse is run by fucking Russian troll farms?
I saw a post the other day that showed a bot on X, on Twitter, that one of the commenters somehow managed to convince it to explain what its own prompt was.
Oh, yeah. You told me about that.
And I just thought that was hilarious. And hopefully more people understand that you can't take, especially comments, you can't take that stuff seriously. You know, people will say the most vile, awful things.
They'll say you look like Tony Khan from AEW.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to do as well. Is in fact, I can get that set up. I want you to read the comments on my video and see. I want to get your reaction.
Did you get good comments? Like,
yeah. I definitely got good comments. In fact, that brings up a point I want to illustrate. It's called "I don't want to work."
You lazy bitch! You fucking millennial piece of shit.
Basically, the response I got on the video, understandably so, because. You know, that is intentional.
Have you heard of the anti-work? I think it's called anti-work, and it's a Reddit subreddit.
What is that about? It's just
people don't want to work. Well, they don't want to work. They're posting like bad work conditions. They post like messages their bosses send them that are just completely like out of like completely unprofessional. And then it was gaining steam probably around COVID. It was gaining steam. And they sent one of their moderators on Fox News, and he made himself seem like the biggest fucking moron and kind of just completely sabotaged the entire anti-work movement. Because they put like the worst, least impressive human being they could, a Reddit moderator. Oh God. They put a Reddit moderator in order to explain their side of things.
Yeah.
And then Fox News, who are ready to just like jump on anybody they can, just fucking wreck them. You usually need to look that shit up.
So for context, when I posted this, the idea behind the video was that a lot of people obviously are in jobs that they don't enjoy, or they're working with bosses they don't want to work with. And so I was trying to offer tips or information as to how you can make that experience more enjoyable while you search for maybe a different gig. But
they just read the title of it.
Knowing how people are on the internet, they read the title. They assumed my perspective was, I don't want to work. I just went online to complain while sitting in my car. And so you have a lot of comments that are saying that. Thankfully, there are people who don't.
And they're all truthful comments.
Of course, yeah. They're all completely honest. And, you know, these guys are the bastion of intellect that we need in our society.
Let's see.
I'll show you right now. But there was the other thing I wanted to touch on really quick before I forget is that comments I've found, even when they're encouraging or positive, are not a good gauge of necessarily where you want to take your channel or what you want to talk about. It's just people reacting.
I just think like you're just looking at like the positive comments. It's like your mom and all your friends. Fucking.
Okay. So I'll give you the phone.
Fucking panda.
You can read the comment and then tell me what
Oh,
you
I
think.
fucking love these Gen X assholes. Have you seen these lately?
I mean, I've seen them today.
Well, this
yeah.
comment, but like we could talk. Like, I'm a proud member of Gen X, and I can tell you, I completely reject the notion that millennials and Gen Z and whoever else are lazy or entitled. This cold hard reality is that.
I think this guy's actually a positive
Okay,
comment.
never mind. I was about to shit
He was
on.
about to-
Let me just say, fuck Gen X. But
thank you to this individual.
yeah, this Gen X are cool. You're fine. But Gen X, and have you seen those memes lately? Ever since Eminem released a new album, it's just been like, they want to get rid of us. We're the last hardcore cool generation. All these Gen Z fucking losers. And then people are like, you fucking raised Gen Z, you idiots. So you're talking about your own kids. They're just mad they've never had a president.
Yeah. I'm glad this whole experience is so cathartic.
What, Gen X?
No, just
Generations in general suck. All generations
Does
suck.
anything not suck?
No. Everything kind of sucks.
Fair point.
But that's why when you finally find that thing that doesn't suck, you're like,
gotta hold on to this.
Hell yeah, dog.
I gotta
see.
Hold on to this.
That's a problem. I'm gonna eventually find that medium because I feel like when I was younger, everything was amazing. Like everything. I remember I used to go to the movies. Like we went to see Legally Blonde 2 when I was a kid, and it's a fucking terrible movie. But I was like, I liked it, and my sister's like, you like everything. I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
I think I got a little bit of that time before you went cynical.
When did I go cynical?
I don't know. Sometime in the last...
was it like 2021, 2022?
Yeah. I would say post-COVID.
I think there's a certain event that made me go a little bit cynical. But I'm glad that I became a little cynical. But I think eventually it's just
level out.
I'm just going through a phase.
Yeah.
It's not a phase.
That's okay. That's why this is basically a glorified journal entry for you. You're going to look back on this.
You're having a fucking intervention for me right now. Is this going to turn into a gambling intervention also?
Maybe, if that's required.
Do you want to know how much I've lost in the last 3 months? The first time I went to gambling was in June. You know how much I've lost since
It's
then?
only 500.
No.
Oh, since June?
So June, so I've gone 4 times. I'll count the 4th time as... Because I went for an entire week the 4th time.
Okay.
But, so... Since June, 1, 2, 3... We'll count those days as individual days. So 6 times since June. You know how much I've lost?
How much?
$3,000.
Okay.
That's not that much to some people, but...
Hey, man, that's how much I spent on an NFT. You see how that... No, I spent $2,000, but you see how that panned out.
I mean, if I just... We can go to a casino right now. If I just keep going, eventually I'm going to hit it big. That's how it works. Casino never wins.
Well, I mean,
That's the phrase,
but...
right?
Yeah, I think you have it.
People are going to be like, are you fucking stupid? And it's like clearly being facetious. Okay. It's the we're back to comments. Sorry, we went on a little bit of tangent.
That's okay.
It's this sweeping mentality that, coupled with ease of access to everything on your phone, that has doomed this guy and his generation. I feel fortunate to have grown up in the late 80s and early 90s and have a different mentality towards work. I'm a fucking winner. That's why I'm commenting. I want to.
Is that what he said? Did he say I'm a winner?
No, I'm adding.
Oh,
I'm adding on to it.
I missed that part.
I'm pretty sure his username is also supposed to be like a special way of writing.
What does his
pussy.
username say?
P. Oh wait, I probably shouldn't say it.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But look at it. Look at it. It looks like it says pussy.
Oh yeah, it does.
So we got a real winner in here, folks.
Yeah.
He's commenting. I would say meaner things if I wasn't on podcast. Let's see.
I mean, I think that guy might have influenced me to change my entire outlook.
Then don't work. Just don't.
Yeah.
Oh, look underneath it. We got the real winner in the room.
Oh, here we go.
Vote Trump.
I love that. That's always
The
inserted.
guy that wants to just like completely take away unions.
No other
But if
context.
everyone stops chasing the cheese, what happens? What happens?
Yeah. What? Think about that. What if
Eventually, you're not going to be able to fucking chase the cheese because they're gonna. Every major company is going to fucking
collapse.
Every major company is going to fire their employees and start employing AI.
All be mom and pops
until the AI uprising comes and kills all humans.
Oh man.
You are feeble, buddy. Look and listen to yourself.
Wait, what's that guy's name?
Talking Point 773.
That's the one who I was telling you about. He's a clear bastion of
Your
intellect.
feeble buddy. Is this the one that? Is this the one that's like, this is a channel dedicated to blah blah blah, and it hasn't uploaded one video in 5 years?
No, he's never uploaded a video.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I said. He hasn't uploaded.
Oh, yeah. In the time he's been
I think
around.
I burped right now, but I don't think I caught it.
That's fine. It's not a big deal.
Can you smell it?
It
smells pretty good.
I'll ask the viewers,
Okay.
the listeners.
I'm looking for mean ones.
I know they're too reasonable. We need to get.
I want to see this one. I don't know if it's a mean one, but I make $16.50 an hour, getting promoted to manager with a 50-cent raise and bringing me to 17. Browsing on Indeed and seeing my same position being hired for $18 an hour to start. Why would I want to be promoted? Why would I have any amount of desire to put in effort at a job that doesn't get facts?
So you've got two very different opinions in this comment section. It's people who are like, this guy doesn't want to do anything, and the other is he is saying that we should stop working, which neither is what I said.
This guy right here is saying getting promoted. Well, you gotta leave them, motherfucker. If you're getting $17 and you're like a manager, I guess I should be talking, but like, if you're getting promoted plenty of times and you're still making less, what's the minimum wage for fry cooks now? Like $20 an hour?
Something like that, I believe.
Look, being a cook, a fry cook, being a worker, any of those establishments, that's honest work. I don't want to shit on you. But if you've been promoted 3 times, you probably should be making more than an entry-level fast food worker. I'm just going to say that. Kings need peasants to live a life of affluence and opulence. We are wage slaves.
I mean, would you agree? They don't get there on their own.
I think there is a certain issue with. I don't want to sound like a fucking. Oh yeah, it's like a fucking dweeb, but like there is a certain like level of wealth inequality that is like you have like CEOs making like hundreds of $millions a year and like they don't do shit really.
The issue is these terms have become such buzzwords that you can't even make a point without it being construed as, oh, that means he's a part of that camp.
Yeah, because it's like I'm sort of in the middle. Like I kind of get sickened by extremes of both sides.
Of course, reasonably so.
But,
I agree.
But like there are points where it's like, yeah, I get why you would like CEOs.
Well, because there's some truth scattered on each end. You know,
I like that meme that's like the dude is screaming about someone. There's always a guy that's screaming about like when they're gonna raise rates on like 500,000 or more a year, and motherfuckers making like 35,000 a year, and it's just like, you're not there, bro. You don't have to scream about it. I remember my uncle pretty much being really against Bernie because he was gonna raise taxes probably on the rich, and my uncle was pretty rich, or he was doing pretty well. He's like, I'm just gonna stop making money. I'm just gonna retire. Why would I keep making money? I'm like, if you have it well enough to where you can just retire on a whim and you're in your 40s, maybe you shouldn't be bitching that hard about taxes going up a little bit. Like, maybe.
I'm confused. So he was he was saying he should retire or shouldn't?
No, my uncle was basically at the point where he's just like, fuck it, I'll retire and stop making money. I don't need to keep making money.
Gotcha.
If you're able to, in your like late 40s to be able just to retire on a whim, maybe you shouldn't be bitching about a politician raising taxes on ultra wealthy people.
I have a question I want to ask you.
Like, calm down. He's nice, but he talks too much like me.
What is your opinion on the concept of retirement?
Fuck yeah, that's my dream job. No,
Really?
I want to make enough and save enough to be able to like kind of just chill at the end. I think you can find passions in retirement. My dad hasn't.
Such as?
You see all these people? I mean, golf is boring as shit. Like, I don't know why everybody goes to golf, but like, you can make a routine of being retired. You can go golf. You can go ride your bike. Maybe you have a restaurant you like to go to every week. You can. There's a lot of different things. You can play video games. Like, there's things people can do in retirement that aren't that bad. I don't think the hustle culture needs to exist in your 70s. Like, I don't understand these fucking politicians who are literally like 90 years old and still fucking running for a higher elected office.
I don't think that hustle culture needs to exist in your 70s either. But I also think I disagree with the idea that retirement is an enjoyable way to live, because there are so many people who were working and maybe they didn't love their job, but it gave them some purpose. And then after they finally reach that goal of not having to do it anymore, then the deterioration just accelerates. Like you're just not doing anything, you know?
So you would want to retire from a high-paced job and then go work at a Walmart as a greeter? There are
Maybe,
people that do that.
And not necessarily. I think, well, if I were giving you a specific example, if I had enough capital, I would spend all my time producing short films, doing stuff like this at a higher scale with no expectation of it being profitable or recouping its costs, just for the flexibility to do it regularly.
You see that all the time, though. That's what, like, you see these old people on YouTube shorts who are freaking getting a lot of views, and they're just retired guys making a milkshake.
But in my opinion, that's not really retirement. That's still work.
It's retiring from working for other assholes,
I suppose. Well,
I think
debatably you're working for YouTube, which is kind of
if you're just some old dude making I'm being literal. There's a old dude that makes milkshakes on YouTube, and his shorts get recommended to me, and he gets millions of views, and he's just making milkshakes. He probably would have done that on his off time. Or what's his name? This old guy that plays Fortnite.
Bush Camp Dad.
Bush Camp Dad.
Yeah.
He streams and puts shit on YouTube, and he's just like chilling at home. Like, he probably would have been playing Fortnite regardless of YouTube or Twitter or Twitch. I mean,
fair point. Yeah.
So now he's probably just at home, doesn't have to worry about some other idiot boss being mad at him. You know what I mean? He can just chill.
So your idea of working is when someone else is lording over you, essentially.
Yeah, no longer having to worry about being yelled at like you're 5 years old.
Do you feel like that at your current workplace? Like you're getting...
Sometimes.
Yeah. And that goes back to my point earlier of I feel like leadership in general is just very poor. If environments in the workplace were set up in a way that a team is meant to excel and do really well, I think people would enjoy the prospect of working a lot more, regardless of what the job was, to be honest. The problem is people are unpleasant to be around.
I'm not going to name any businesses, but our current level of capitalism is spend as little possible and offer as less possible to the customer, and make sure to try to make as much money as possible. So I think that's why people are a lot more miserable right now, is because they realize these companies are willing to try to just juice you for every fucking drop you can while giving you as less as possible. Like, that is 100%. Right now, if you were talking to me in 2022, I'd be like, prices are up because of inflation. Right now, prices are up because companies don't want to lose their profit, and they also want to give you as less as possible and make as much as possible. So I think that's why people in general are pretty fed up. But I also think people put the blame on they put blame on, they need, these taxes are too high, or this other bullshit, or the government. A lot of it also is just corporations not wanting to pay their fair share. We're back onto our soapbox, but you know what I mean.
It's okay. I mean, the whole thing is technically a soapbox, which is fine.
I just want to talk shit, though. You want to hear about this band I've been listening to?
Sure.
This is a pop group from Spain in the late 80s, early 90s, and they still exist now, but they're just different people, I guess, as members. They're called Loco Mia. Look it up. Look up Loco Mia. Loco Mia is a group of guys who were dressed as conquistadors. They had, like, pointy shoes, and they got, like, as many attractive guys as they could just to draw in, like, all these women. But they're all gay, so that's the funny thing. All these women are screaming about guys that they'll never get.
Loco Mio?
Loco Mia.
Okay,
LOCOMIA.
Okay.
I love this group. After we're done with this podcast, we're going to watch Loco Mia videos the entire time.
Oh, yeah, I see. These guys are, they're good-looking guys.
They're sick as hell.
I like the
No, I hate this one. I hate this guy. No, these guys suck. These are the originals. The originals.
Oh.
This was my favorite. for context, I'm straight, but these guys are
I love
are
the
pretty
clarification.
dreamy. Look at that blonde dude.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
They're sick as hell. We should need to watch these videos. If you're
maybe you'll feel more
ran-
inspired after.
I ironically like them, but now you listen to something enough times, you just unironically like it. That's me. I ironically listen to these guys enough times to where I unironically like them now.
It's like The Room.
I guess, but The Room sucks. These guys are. The other funny thing is these guys are clearly lip syncing the entire time. Mm-hmm. Who gives a fuck? They got presence.
Yeah, I mean, how many things does that apply to where it really doesn't come down to how good you are necessarily at something? It's just how nice is it to be around you and people feel comfortable in your presence.
Let's be honest. Elvis wasn't the best singer. Probably wasn't even the best dancer. He wasn't the best guitarist. But there was something about him that made you want to watch him. With that said, fuck Elvis.
He's him. Why do you dislike everyone?
I mean, if you want to look into Elvis, he was pretty controversial if you look into certain aspects of his existence.
Yeah. I bet you could find this about I mean, that's not excusing him, but who is there to like? That
I mean that is you gotta realize, like, there are no more heroes. Like, that is true, which is why I kind of say fuck everyone. But I don't know.
That is.
I'll listen to Elvis and still be like, yeah, fuck Elvis.
You just explained the reason why.
That's Kanye.
I go live and I try not to curse, because if
this isn't that, I guess.
If no one else can do it, why not be the person? If there are actually people out there who are looking for someone who is not totally messed up, it's not that hard to be that sort of person. In fact, it usually makes you feel better when you espouse those qualities.
I find it gross when it's very disingenuous, though.
Which there's a lot of.
I hate those people that who act like they're pure, and then they're going out back and getting drunk and beating their wives and stuff like that. There's so many people like that will be one way on your screen, and then they go in the back and they're just completely scumbags. Like all those mega church owners. Not all of them. I shouldn't say all of them, but a good chunk of them. They'll espouse certain beliefs, and then when there's a hurricane near their area, they just completely shut down the mega church instead of bringing in people. You hear about that?
Not that
Joel
specific
Osteen.
story.
Yeah, he has his church is giant, and there was a hurricane or something that was nearby. He could have just brought those people in, and instead he was like, "Nah, fuck that. You're not gonna mess up my church." Nah.
Which is why I said
I cussed. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
That it's not unfortunate. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think as someone whose background is my strongest subject was English, I feel like for me, I have to expand my vocabulary beyond that. Otherwise,
There's so many brilliant people that cuss, though.
Yeah,
such as myself.
But brilliance is not limited to, like, there are people who are brilliant but socially awkward, and it runs the gambit. Like, you could look at one trait as a major positive, and that doesn't mean that they're going to be good at everything.
I also think I cuss more because I can't cuss at work.
Oh, okay. Fair point.
I will be fired.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, if you're not faking it, then your life is genuinely better. Like, if people are going and they're ruining their relationships behind the scenes, and they're ruining their own health and their own lives, then obviously it's bad, because they're portraying one thing and then acting another, and then their actual life is not so great. But I try to literally do those things so that I feel better.
Fair
The whole waking up early thing, and I just recently just stopped drinking completely. Maybe once in a blue moon, if it's a special occasion, I'll have like a fruity drink or something. A blue moon, yeah. Then I'll consider it, but I just, there's too many examples of why it's not good for you. So why do it? If you can reframe.
What in your life that you do right now is bad for you? Do you have any?
Sometimes I will still stay up very late, which might seem tame to people, but sometimes it's 4 or 5 in the morning because I get locked into a rabbit hole and I can't stop myself from doing more research or what have you. And then the next day suffers as a result. Also, socializing is something I struggle with because it kind of is an inconvenience at times. So I have to put it as something on my itinerary that I put effort into. It's not something that comes natural.
I guess I have no other choice but to socialize with people on a daily basis.
It's part of your job.
Yeah. We're not going to mention where I work, but like, yeah, I have to be around a lot of people from a large age range all the time.
Not so smart people either.
I mean, if you're, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're a pain. Some of those people are a pain.
Yeah. Let's not talk too much about
I mean, we could just say it's in customer service.
Yeah, well,
Like,
I mean, that's what it is. And yeah, there's times where the customer's right.
you have to you have to deal with customers face to face, and a lot of the times they want to
screamed at a lot.
they want to push boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that weird. I mean, do you feel like you've gained some valuable skills
Where I
being
work?
in that environment over and over and over again?
Yeah, probably. I would say so.
Like what?
Oh, dead air now. Now that I try to search for what I've learned from my job. I mean, when I started working there, I was a lot more timid. I was afraid to talk to people. I was afraid to talk to girls, women. No, I'm not.
That's a pretty huge plus.
I gained two. I've gained friends from that place. I've met a lot of people there.
You've gained a lot of friends from your current job and your prior jobs, which is a good thing.
Friendships are hanging on for a life.
Yeah, but people come and go. That's totally normal. I mean, I could go on a whole tangent about how.
Let's start naming names for you.
Oh, yeah. So we won't say your job, but we'll name names for me.
Yes. Let me try to find no.
I was just gonna say that it's really scary to let go of people from your life because you will always second guess, and that's not just friendships, it's relationship. Well, I think for most people it's relationships. They go, did I really make the right decision in stopping communication with this person? But with friendships, you don't think it's as big of a deal because you don't have that deep commitment to them as you would, say, a partner. But sometimes you gotta treat it the same. Like, you gotta cut them off. And you won't know if that works out for you until 1, 2, 3 months pass. You're already going through that spiral of regret. Oh, maybe I made the wrong decision. Oh, let me just send a text to see how they're doing. And you have to resist all those little traps in order to figure out in 5 or 6 months down the line whether or not it was the right decision.
We've already mentioned him, but weirdly enough, Stemler did that for you. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, but
he just left, and you're already kind of like stressed from him.
Yeah, but I don't think it counts unless you
do it yourself.
Actively make the decision. Yeah, because you don't. If someone leaves you don't have the guilt. I mean, you might think, oh, well, what did I do wrong? But that's completely different. Like that's out of your hands. It, though. Yes, you do, and you have to toughen up a little bit when you go through that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes not knowing why is the best. It sucks fucking cock, but it's the best. It's the best medicine. And like, it literally just move on.
Yeah,
you just gotta fucking move on, pack up your shit, and get the hell out.
Yeah,
like figuratively get the fuck out of that like mindset of just like pack up your shit. You're not around that person anymore. You're never gonna be around that person anymore. Move on.
I know we didn't get very far with reading the comments, but I will say that has been an excellent teacher for me, like on the gaming channel. So I was streaming Helldivers for a while, and those would get more views than I'm used to, and so they would get more interaction, and most of it is negative. Like, by default, most of it is negative. And if you asked me 3 years ago to go through the same experience of reading that sort of thing, I would have been like, oh man, it would have been internalized and it would have affected me mentally. But after it happens so many times, maybe for other people they don't get used to it, but for me it's kind of, people tell you to build a thick skin, especially in theater when I did.
Or like, I mean, perfect example is like stand-up comedy. You have to learn to eat shit all the time.
Yeah. Well, and I used this example on stream the other day. So speaking of people who are genuinely wholesome, Tony Hawk, he did an interview recently talking about his life, and people criticized him because they thought he was putting on an act of being wholesome. It's just, he didn't expect to get famous. That's just how he was.
There's one Fortnite YouTuber that I kind of think is like that I think is kind of put on. And if it's not put on, he acts like a man-child. Nick 830. Have you heard of that guy?
I've heard of him. I've never watched.
He's insufferable. He's become a meme of how insufferable he is. Like, the way he reacts to certain things, it sounds like a child throwing a fit. But then people are like, he's so family friendly. I'm like, maybe he's just a man child.
There's a lot of streamers who are like that. They're not very good at hiding it either. Their audience just has gotten they put up with it. They've gotten so used to listening to this person. It's part of their routine that they'll deal with it. And they complain, the streamers complain about things I never would have thought, because I was doing it for so long and I was insecure about, I don't have very many viewers, I don't have that much engagement, that when they experience a dip in their social media, behind closed doors, said by their associates to other streamers, the word gets around, they complain in the same way that someone brand new complains, which was a shocker for me. And then it made me realize,
it's so
I can totally do
they're
this.
Still probably making like 100,000 a month, and they're just I need 500,000 a month. Like, no, you don't,
because the priorities are all out of whack. Like, they are the money is meant to fill some sort of void.
Weird void.
Yeah.
I love those streamers that are like, I've been streaming for 3 hours and nobody's donated once. I'm like,
that's not
that's
not their problem. That's yours. Like, what do you think? It's a donation. It's voluntary. Like, are you doing a good job? No one owes you anything.
There's a lot of lolcows that do that shit. You know what lolcow? They're like those streamers that people love to hate, and they're also like just pathetic human beings that just people make fun of.
And so they get a lot.
Do you remember Boogie2998?
Yeah,
he's the perfect example of a lolcow, because he is just. It's weird because he was like this gold standard for YouTubers. Like, he was really positive. Everyone liked his content, and he's just spiraled into like the biggest loser that just will take advantage of any situation. Like it's so crazy how quickly someone's reputation could just disintegrate before our eyes.
It's kind of scary how easy it is to fall into that bucket, because there are some things that I've like gotten desperate to go, oh, will this video do well? And you start to take ideas from maybe not so great concepts, and you post something, and it may or may not do well, but then you think,
you turn into the hot to a girl.
Why did I post this? Like, this isn't me.
I mean, don't you hate? I mean, some of your videos have more of the views or your reaction videos, and I think sometimes
which drives me crazy.
Sometimes you're just like, oh, bro, this shit sucks. Like, why is this doing so much better in this other video where like I put so much effort into? I've never been a content creator, so I wouldn't know any of these emotions. But like, maybe that's not true, because I think there's a lot of times where people put in a lot of effort for something and it just doesn't work out.
Of course, that's most of the time.
Like at normal jobs or in like your friendships or relationships, like you put a lot of effort and it just doesn't work out.
I think how you look, how you present yourself, and how you talk will have more of an influence on people's impression of you than necessarily your work, unless your work is just exceedingly rare and a valuable quality.
It's also what field you're in, because I mean, we talked about like language, like cussing. If you're a stand-up comedian, a lot of times it's almost expected that you cuss. It's not a big deal if you hear a curse word. But if you're a professor at a university, or if you're, I mean, even worse, a kindergarten teacher, and you're just like around 5-year-olds going, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah, it's
like,
not going to work.
You're not going to work.
Yeah. Jesse, it's been a pleasure doing this. I'm glad we checked this box, because, the first one, in my opinion, is always the most uncomfortable one to get through, or the most challenging to get through. And this is just, it's training at the end of the day. And to anyone who's listening, I appreciate you guys.
What's your problem? Why are you listening? what drives you to listen?
What made you think this was a good idea?
You've wasted how long has it been going?
57 minutes.
Oh, we gotta go 2.5 more minutes.
Oh, okay,
it has to be an hour.
It has to be an hour. Okay,
yes.
Well, we can outro for 2 minutes.
I say we turn into Joe Rogan and we just do 3 hours of podcast.
Look,
every 3 hours.
I have no problem with doing that in the future, but the amount of bandwidth I got to work with here is something I need to train myself
Let's also
for.
remember Joe Rogan's output's got a lot worse nowadays. So like, let's not become Joe Rogan.
Well, he also doesn't have to output as much as he used to.
He still does, and it's gotten worse.
Do you mean in the quality or the guests or what?
Everything.
How so?
Well, one of the things, he's a stand-up comedian, and I always hear people say like, one of the biggest enemies of being a stand-up comedian is getting too successful, because then you don't know what the common man's going through.
Fair point.
And he has not been a normal person for quite some time, and it shows with some of the dumb shit he says.
How do you retain that? Is that even possible? Live within your means, don't buy extravagantly?
I mean, you can live comfortably, but like you also have to occasionally just like walk around and like sort of try to experience things that aren't comfortable. I mean, maybe because he'll be, if it's Joe Rogan, he won't respond to this because we're not even on his radar. But like, for example, he would say, well, I work out, I do this, I put my body through this. I'm like, you're probably on the best like medicines, you're on the best proteins, you're using the best equipment, you're not like some military guy just fucking running in the mud over here. You're still, even in your torturing yourself with workouts, you're still in the most comfortable version of that torture you could possibly be.
Playing devil's advocate, do you think the things necessary to live that kind of lifestyle, with healthy, working out, cold showers, whatever, do you think those things are that far out of reach for the average person?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Because the average person nowadays is working multiple jobs. There's people that are literally will go from one job and then they jump in an Uber or go do Postmates.
I mean, I was teaching and coaching at two different.
He argued with Louis C.K. on his podcast about the same thing. They had a podcast and he was bringing up the fact that these things that we hold in high regard when you're rich aren't that attainable for normal people. They're just not. Like when you're worried about paying rent, and when you're worried about paying rent and making sure your family's fed, you're probably not going to be worrying about a fucking cold bath in the morning. You're going to get up and get your ass to work.
So it sounds like the main obstacle is time, because we have
time and wealth.
We have to devote. Yeah, but you don't have to be wealthy to take a cold shower.
There's a difference between a cold shower and like these state-of-the-art cold plunges that some of these people have.
Yeah, but...
And also the people that put themselves through those extreme workouts, like David Goggins, like, are they really that happy?
I don't think David Goggins is happy.
He's literally... it's something it's not that unique of a thought, but, like, literally, he's just finding another way of hurting himself in some ways.
I do think he's an anomaly, and I think there may be... If
he went from one extreme of being obese to the other extreme of hurting himself that way.
There's some value to be gained if you observe from the outside, but if you try to exactly replicate what he's doing, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors, is my opinion on it.
I mean, when I lost all that weight, a couple of years ago, gained it all back, but I did lose all that weight. And
well, you're working on it now.
Yeah, well, who cares? But like a couple of years ago when I lost all that weight, I wasn't, a lot of times I was working out not because I was like, oh, I want to like be healthy. I was like, I want to be so tired that I don't feel any of the other sadness I felt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was an unhealthy attachment to working out and to dieting, which is a problem with a lot of people have.
For sure. All right. I love you, dude, but I'm going to cut it off here. Otherwise, my editing version in a few hours is going to be like, why did you record all this? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that first episode, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.
If there is a next one.
If there is a next one.
Never know.
Hey, whoa.